All right, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of CCP Take 2 edition. Because I fell asleep last Thursday. So, as you know who I am your loving, everyday, normal anime misfit. Here after a month of kind of solitude, just trying to get my own self together. And with me, as always, my co-host, the eyeball.
The Unknown Otaku.
Shush you! Okay, yes, Unknown's here, but we also have Lamp.
Hello, everyone.
Is the lamp at your desk?
Yes.
As always,
loading.
as always, Lamp will be the chat master, and now you can introduce yourself, esteemed guest of the month.
All right. Hi, my name's Joey. I'm the anime man.
Oh god.
Oh, no. Oh my god.
Oh man. Nah, I'm the Unknown Otaku. I just do YouTube and Twitter.
And all that.
I just talk about any random stuff.
Oh. Yeah, because, like, compared to all the past people we've had.
Also the name. Sorry.
And
yeah, what's it called? Oh, like, I do a lot of stuff, but generally they are almost always anime related.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
I don't have like a specific thing I do. I've done some.
It's
reviews.
It's all right. Soon our channel will be moving to mainly animation as well as anime. So like we're kind of also in that transitionary period. So it's all good, brah. So anyway, I was going to say your particular content was I was about to say your particular content is harder to pin down than our previous guests who were specialized in this one thing in the anime verse. You're kind of like you're kind of everywhere, like the informant in the corner of the recess playground.
Mm-hmm. I've been in the anime community. I've been into anime for, let me see, maybe 13 or so years. So, knowing I know a lot of this shit that we do and whatnot, and I've been watching Anitube for a long time as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean,
actually,
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Because I saw Giga when he was growing and he was doing his top 20 list. That's when I found him. There's a lot of I usually try to find literally everyone. Oh man, and it's just one of those things that I've had a knack to do, to try and find as many Anitubers as possible. I think I have a list somewhere. I don't have it out with me right now.
Oh my god, Lampy's got a list.
He's checking it twice.
Yeah, the list is about 200 people. I think people really underestimate how many people are in Anitube.
We're like, there's a lot of ants, and then there's like the 15 aardvarks. They're just eating all those ants. That's how I see it.
I wouldn't exactly explain their relationship like that, but but okay.
It keeps things nice and natural, on a literal sense.
That kind of sounds like like they're purposely keeping the small people down.
I mean, YouTube's purposely keeping the small people down. I'm not going to say they're keeping us down. I'm just saying there are companies do the favoritism. Companies do the favoritism. I'm not going to say people. Companies. So anyway,
they do have their favorites.
Yes. So
companies do.
So anyway, I know let's to start things off. Unknown, how about you? Would you like us to talk about my normal news topic first? Do you want to talk about your new series first, or do you want me to try to explain the thumbnail and how that incorporates into this whole thing first?
Oh, I was about to say it's your show. We can start with whatever, but I'm actually interested with the Unknown Otaku thumbnail thing.
Okay, so originally the Unknown Otaku thumbnail was just basically was an inspiration from your latest thumbnail for This Week in Anitube #2. But then I remember all the talks I had in the previous times about up and coming, like about bigger YouTubers or stuff, and just how about the impact of an up and coming Anituber in our community. And I noticed that with you and another and you and Nino have something in common. You both are pretty small in terms of numbers on YouTube, objectively, but you guys get around so much. Like here
is how I explain it. We don't have numbers for the general audience, but it's quality over quantity. That's what it is. We know the specific people that we need to know, rather than the vast amount of people that we should know or can know.
Yeah, and I think that's the hard part about trying to connect connections in Anitube and the ongoing conversation of collaboration. Because before I met you, met your Discord, I had no idea of all the new stuff I now know. It was just a smack in the face.
A whole new world.
So continue with Unknown Otaku specifically. So the reason I made him the Earth is because I see him as that next impact that's been kind of needed in the bigger Anituber space. He kind of just came up and just put his face on it.
Unknown Otaku has been described as the bridge between Shonen Tube and analytical YouTube, because he kind of does 3 types of videos all at once. While he is technically comedic in all of it, he's also somewhat doing a good what's it called? A little bit of analytical, and he's also doing a lot of shonen, which is actually not seen all that much in shonen. People that I don't know. Do you know the term shonen tube?
Yeah, I know ShonenTube. That's all the Anitubers that do mostly just shonen content, or the daily manga uploads like Forever World Chibi reviews. Maso, the Dragon Ball guy who does nothing but Dragon Ball the whole time. The Dragon Ball Z series. Yeah. So yeah, there's that kind of like special occasion. Fuck me. Special attention in Anituber space is something I just recently became a parent of. Not that much. There's not much shoujo too, but you'd find it. It's not as vocal from my perspective.
I would say that is more of stuff like it's not, well, that's not technically all they do. That's more of the route with pedantic and all of them.
Yeah.
I know Celestial Nerd is an up and coming person that can probably scratch that itch. But yeah.
I should check them out. It's just like, but what I know is that if it's not, I know that I still believe anime reviews still have a place now that we have too much anime. But it's a catch-22 because most people aren't gonna watch it, but there's a lower supply of it. So but like with ShonenTube, it's just like smack in your face. When you are aware of it, you never become unaware of it. And when I saw Taku's videos, I saw it as like, I was happy for him, because like, he's the type of Anituber that like, you just didn't see coming to just smack you in the face with, hey, I blew up. What of it?
Yeah.
And he kind of...
I've been watching him for a long time, and to see him just go from almost nothing, or as he describes it, his up-and-comingness is the world's top 10 most saddest upbringings. Because he was doing videos pretty, like, daily or near it, or whatnot, weekly, something like that. And if you looked, he was getting no traction for, for a long time. He barely get any views, but now he's getting, like, all the views.
Yeah, it's a good pump of fresh air. It's just been the same couple of Anitubers who have made it over a certain threshold. But like, yeah, I made him the Earth.
Once you make it over that threshold, you're pretty much golden, as long as you don't do anything to piss off your fans.
Yeah. Like, I made him the Earth because he's taking the Annie community Earth by storm. Just splat in his face right there and you can't miss it.
Yeah.
Right there.
Glad that he's finally overtaken Mother's Basement.
I'm still neutral to the whole Mother's Basement thing. So, like, that segues into my next topic just in general. Like, yeah, a lot of people like me were in the dark a lot about all the Anitube news. Would you like to give our viewers some advice or some tips about just, like, first experiencing just Anitube drama a lot, because we've been getting that conversation throughout the year about how Anitube's either gone, there's too much noise in it, or people are quitting because of its toxicity, or people are quitting because of the seasonal grind. Also, as a second question, do you believe the seasonal grind for small Anitubers exist?
Depends. How do you classify that?
Okay, so if you remember the video about my acquaintance Slapshoes, who was the first person on this podcast, he quit Anitube real recently to become part of the whole NASCAR community, or race car community, which is good for him. Good for him. He's doing real great. But like in his video, he talked about how he was just tired of like the seasonal repeat of every 3 months if you're not on top of the newest shows. Now, that's not saying that every new Anituber or just every small Anituber has to do seasonal content. In fact, I've been thinking about taking the more quality over quantity route just for my own mental health, because following it every 3 months can be kind of a hassle, and it also can make disingenuous videos. But there's like this kind of like unnecessary necessary evil that if you're smaller, or heck, if you're like moderate, that following is like the most most efficient way to stay on top of things. Like, what do you think on that? And do you think there's other ways people besides the whole just and more specifically than just have more quality content?
Well, okay. I've actually thought about this a long time ago and was going to possibly do a video on it because here's the thing. You can point out a few people that have made it without having to cater to that weekly grind. But there's a few problems there. One, definitely that is not the rule. That is a goddamn outlier of it. You have to be really lucky for that. The second thing is the people that did break out like that, it's even though it's not a weekly grind thing, they did it off of like super popular shows that are always going to be relevant no matter what. So even then, it's like, well, yes, you didn't do it on the weekly grind stuff, but you still did it on stuff that are really popular. So stuff like niches, they will never get you popular on a lot of this stuff. That is kind of the reality of the situation. And I kind of blame YouTube for a lot of changes they made, but I also blame Anitube as a whole because everyone catered to the system rather than
trying to fight it. Now,
yeah, it's something that you would have to actually get everyone on board for, which is why it's a literal fruitless endeavor to do that. Because in theory, you could go and talk about what you want to talk about. You can have everyone go and do whatever they're enjoying, make videos on it, and they could get decent views because of what's it called? Just because of it's something you like, something you express shit for and stuff like that. And the reason why it doesn't work out this way is because YouTube knows pushes out what's trending, pushes out what's new, and because it quote unquote new and trending, that means old anime that are somewhat forgotten won't really get another look unless you are someone who has an already established base of people, or if you just happen to have your YouTube channel completely based off the fact that you do like those kind of videos,
like Dragon Ball Z, like I forget, like Masao's Dragon Ball Z channel is nothing but Dragon Ball. So, and he's found an audience with that. So, like, to jump off that point, we talked about a couple earlier, maybe you remember it, about how, like, there was this notion that maybe another, that, like, there's this underlying sentiment that, like, a specific type of Anitube content is also hurting the algorithm for everybody else, and how that conversation, if it's true or not. Also, I really want to get more detail on about your thoughts on that. Do you think there are certain types of Anitube content that fuck up the algorithm so bad that it's making people who are up and coming, or people who just, or heck, normal, or any Anituber?
Yeah, okay, I know what you mean. Okay, episode reviewers, I honestly think do fuck up the algorithm for actual full reviewers, because what's it called? Your videos will be pushed out way the fuck more because you have every single episode done, and it shows retention of, oh, someone joined in for this episode, thus they will be wanting to see the next episode, versus someone who goes and does an overview or a review of the entire thing, because it already has so many tags and so many watches of review for that channel on that specific thing. It pushes everyone else's down, and this just goes into studying the algorithm and what how it works.
The same idea could be put to, like, manga reviewers too, like manga chapter reviewers. Yeah.
Yes. This is that's just blatantly how the algorithm works, and it does completely fuck over those people that put review in the title. There is, if they really, really want to get around it, they would have to completely change their series or whatever, or not have it as labeled as a review. You can still have it as a review. You would have to just
you would have to either have to put it in the tags, put it in the hashtags, and just have a really
good title and thumbnail.
Yeah,
that because like most people, they don't put like people that actually do reviews anymore. Like look at analysis. They don't put X anime analysis. They put whatever the fuck they're talking about as the title, something that is catchy and something that is can be remembered, kind of like a gimmick of that video.
Yeah, that's the one thing that definitely changed.
So if you're going to be making a review, like look at how I titled my review of Agretzko. I literally titled it Agretzko is the most red-pilled anime ever.
Oh, I see it all right.
Oh man, I fucking love that parody. Oh man. It is hilarious, and you would not think, just looking at it, it's a review, but it definitely is a review.
Yeah, like in the tags you can put it in the review, and it's I guess that I think that's the new strategy for if you want, like, because like my review, like my best video is my Diabolical Glover's review, and that's still getting reviews from like 2 or 3 years ago, and I feel like, so I know that reviews are still desired depending on the anime. It's just the strategy to promote it is always gonna be the make it or break it.
Yep. That's just how it's the sad reality of the algorithm that a lot of people, they either admit but don't want to really acknowledge, or they will reluctantly admit, or they just flat out won't admit it.
Right.
It's exactly what happens with everything.
Yeah. So on that point, so with Anitube, or like we're in the workings that you are a lot more adept into than myself. What would you say is the current direction that people are going into with just like the overall consensus of where Anitube wants to go?
I don't think there is an first of all, I don't think there is an overall consensus, just because of how broad Anitube is.
Or
there's
has become
so many different subsections. What was the second part of that? I just wanted to clarify that real fast.
Oh. Well, like, oh god, I forgot what I said. Okay, so what I basically mean is that, like, again, as I said before reviews reigned supreme on the Anitube, then that got moved to analytical channel. Then last month, as I talked with Potatoes, that now it seems like analytical content rules YouTube in terms of like, if it's not the episode reviews, or it's not the like the diss tracks, which have gone down in recent years. I've noticed not many people do the ciphers anymore, but now it's
I know why not many people are doing the ciphers anymore, and I do blame there's two reasons why they don't do the ciphers anymore. There was a, let's just say, a decent drama with the people that do it, and kind of sparked it to do that. But the second thing is, I still blame Joey for that goddamn thing. He did this because the purpose of the cipher is to do the cipher and then call someone out, and it's supposed to be this kind of narrative structure, so that the person you called out, you're supposed to make them look bad by beating them in the cipher, and then you're supposed to call other people out. What Joey did is, while he was one of the first people to get it called out, he instantly stopped the cipher by saying, "I tag everyone." And it's like, well, now no one knows where to go look for the next part of the series. That literally stopped the series and the whole purpose of the cipher. And that's why the last cipher that happened didn't go anywhere. Like, it just tagged a few people, and then it immediately stopped by saying, I tag everyone.
Yeah, because no one could figure out where it was pinpoint.
Yeah, there was no narrative. You couldn't follow, like, okay, where do I go next? There's literally none of that. And that's one I still completely blame Joey for that part.
You think he did it on purpose?
So I'm
conspiracy.
I don't think he did it on purpose. I just don't think he acknowledged that was the reason. I don't think he knows. I just flat out think it's ignorance.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I didn't understand.
Because, okay, another thing is, the other good thing about it is you're also shouting out people and leading new people to them. That's how I found Unknown Otaku back when he used to use a Red X avatar. Back in those days where he used to make honest anime trailers.
A literal Red X or Teen Titans Red X?
Teen Titans Red X.
Oh yeah, the mask. Yeah, that explains the mask. Yeah.
Oh man, he used to use that as his avatar and everything. It was but yeah, I still blame Joey on that one. I don't know if it will be fixed with next year, and hopefully Nino, whenever he starts it, he just doesn't tag Joey first this time.
He might not even respond. There's that idea that bigger channels don't really they don't take risk it, or ever since the latest Crunchyroll anime reviews, there's been that other conspiracy that those that are sponsored by Crunchyroll are taking more safe bets right now than ever.
It depends on which person you're talking about.
I mean,
and what's it called? What do you mean safe bets and whatnot?
I mean, remember that whole debate about did the piracy debacle happen this year or last year?
That depends on when you want to talk about, because the piracy debacle has been going on for many years.
Yes, but
the big one between Unique Anemasaurus and Mother's Basement that happened, I think, almost 2 years ago, maybe.
That was 2 years? Damn.
Yeah. Man, when it started, but many months later, it started up again, and it just completely discloses and shows that how many people are trying to manipulate the situation and shit like that by purposely making straw man arguments and then knocking those straw man arguments down, stuff that no one actually put up.
Yeah.
And if your side has to actually cut out context to make a point, then your point is obviously wrong. And when I mean cut out context, I mean the context of of whatever they're trying to say. And if adding more context, if it doesn't change what they are saying, then that isn't needed. As much context as it is needed to get why or how something happened. If you cut that out, you can already tell that they're disingenuous.
Yeah. Speaking of, what has been the biggest Anitube news story this year so far? We got 2 months left. I swear there was. What was the biggest thing you've heard, news wise, or the biggest thing, or big things you've heard?
Actually, that sounds like an interesting topic. Maybe I could do a seasonal roundup of all the anime news drama.
You should. You really got to mark it on. Tell the people what it is. I mean, look.
And apparently, according to the chat, the Unique Namosaurus versus Miles was last year.
Last year?
How many times? Because there was multiple times they went at it.
Yeah, there were multiple times. I remember, I was there when the Pirates of the Caribbean parody started going out, and I was in love with those.
Hold on. Let me look it up. Unique Namosaurus.
I really love that. I literally love that YouTuber.
Let me just look it up real fast.
I may be neutral to Mother's Basement, but I really liked Unique's video on piracy. I mean, I already talked about piracy on the podcast before, so I won't like beat myself with a drum again. But I'll say like, look, man, just don't force people if they can't do it, and don't force people.
Okay, so. What the? Oh, there it is.
You should do like.
It's 2 years in less than a month. So yes, 2 years. It's literally 2 years. When the first video of why you should pirate anime, it's 2 years in about 10 or so days. Not even. Not even 10 days actually.
Dang.
Because it's October 27th. I was like 1 year ago is not true, and that's why I was saying that.
Yeah, I mean, but going back to the previous thing, you should make a video about the news of that season or the news of the year. I mean, like, I think it'd be an interesting video because like a lot happened this year.
Yeah, some of my favorite ones is Shield Hero and Goblin Slayer.
Oh yeah, that was the summer. Was it spring or summer? Spring.
Oh man! And every step of the way with Shield Hero, they find new reasons to hate it. And I'm like, okay, you're clearly saying Shield Hero is like the worst show ever, and saying how it's a problem that no one should watch it and whatnot. And you're commenting on episode like 20 something.
Isekai news.
How long have you been? Because like a lot of these people that are talking about Shield Hero. Like that negatively and stuff like that, I'm laughing because they said they're not going to watch another episode, and they said shit like that on episode 1, but they keep commenting on nearly every single episode, purposely trying to get people to not watch it, which is why I love following the Twitter account called Bad Shield Hero Takes. I know who runs it. Oh man, that is a funny fucking Twitter.
I mean, my only real problem with Shield Hero as an anime was episode 18. But besides that, I thought it was an okay show. But the whole Isekai-dom was a big news story. I remember. What was before that? There was the award. There's always new shit during the awards, and if we should really give a damn about it or not, which we pretty much shouldn't. I mean, it's gonna be mostly Crunchyroll shows. I mean, what do people expect? I mean, Deadman Wonderland was this year's the year Deadman Wonderland won last year? Yeah. And that was on Netflix, so hey, bias be damned. But I'm just saying, like, just to get a recap, because stuff evolves all the time. But it's always strangely easy to just have it fall under the radar if you're not in the know. And I think that while a lot of the drama, just real talk, I think a lot of the drama that goes on in Anitube, well, people may hate it, and people may say I hate Anitube and stuff. I think it's something we all have to kind of like swim in more. That way we can kind of keep each other like well collaborated in a well-oiled machine. I feel like all the banter is needed. It's a necessary evil. It may be annoying evil, but I think it's important. It's better than having everybody being isolated. And
so question in the chat: do you guys buy or stream your anime?
Stream.
I do kind of both.
That I stream most of my anime, but I do actually buy the discs. I do buy some Blu-rays. In fact, somewhere I have my Gurren Lagann Blu-ray discs.
I mean, I have a lot of my DVDs. Like, I tend to be one of those people that buys on sale because I can't afford full price, obviously. So like when Sentai has their holiday sale, yeah. I'll buy that. I'll buy all the DVD because DVDs are going out of what's the word?
Circulation.
Yeah, DVDs are going obsolete for Blu-rays, so DVDs are super cheap right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they may not be the Blu-ray version, but hey, like, I'm okay.
What's it called? Of course, having a physical disc will always be better. Just simply due to compression.
And no one can
bitrate
legally
conversion.
take it away from you and say, hey, the rights are no longer taken, because that's the biggest fear we've had right now with streaming and everybody's going on a streaming service. But yeah, I just recently switched to Verve just to consolidate my High Dive and Crunchyroll accounts.
Yeah.
So there's that, and I've said it before a lot. I don't blame anybody who has like one streaming service and then like pirates everything else, because it's not gonna be on everything else. Like, if that one show you want is unlicensed, of course pirate it. I mean, no one picked it up. What do you expect, y'all?
Yeah, that's whatever. Supply and demand, and the consumers can revolt or do whatever. I don't particularly like Mother's Basement argument, saying how everyone is entitled, and I know why he's making that argument when it comes to what's it called, Crunchyroll. I've never said his what I believe his real intentions are. I've always had a theory on what it is, and I'm not going to say that on stream, but that's another beast.
Yeah.
Because after I was doing my video on Mother's Basement, just because he was saying that he's done nothing to make anyone ever upset besides a few anime opinions or maybe political opinions that disagree. And I was like, hold on, I get sent your shit all the time on what people are completely pissed off about you with. Like, this is just blatantly false. And then when I went to go look through it, a lot of the things, in my opinion, I think I could do some deductive reasoning on what is real objective with all that is. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is hilarious.
Speaking of your videos, let's talk.
It's not really like that we can get it out of the way. It's not technically bad. It's nothing evil or maniacal or whatnot. It's just hilarious if you actually know.
Anyways, I think we got a lot of the opening statements out of the way. So let's talk about.
I'll give you a bit of a hint on it. Take a look at his stance on gatekeeping, and then take a look at his stance on what's it called, piracy, and it becomes very hilarious.
Speaking of gatekeeping, what just made a video about gatekeeping in anime? I haven't seen it yet.
I have.
What do you think? What are your initial thoughts?
I do believe gatekeeping is good and necessary. I may not agree with everything on with what, but I most certainly do not agree with goddamn Mr. Cynical on Twitter, where he was saying there's no difference between gatekeeping and being an elitist.
I still need to watch the video, so I can't really judge the opinion on myself.
Judge Judy.
Judge Judy. Judge Drake. Mean stuttering. I just like I guess I'm more wary of the word gatekeeping and just like the broader sense. So once I watch the video, maybe I'll have more context.
Because elitist and elitism has almost always just pertained to the individual in question, while gatekeeping has multiple definitions and has been used. It's used differently when it becomes gatekeeping against corporations. What's it called? To say that they are the same thing completely goes against, for one, what elitism is, because that becomes, oh, don't worry, everyone's a special snowflake. Everyone's an elitist because everyone is good. Oh, doesn't it feel better? Everyone is good, you know? And it's like, no, elitist, there is supposed to only be like very few elitists, just because of the nature of what elitism is. Elitism is you literally, it is about superiority. It is literally about being completely better in whatever situation that it is. Like Michael, like you could say Mike, as the example I used on Twitter. Michael Jordan is an elitist when it comes to basketball, and like rightfully so. He's won a lot of shit. He's been a professional for many years and everything. So he's damn well not only classified as an elitist, but to argue otherwise is actually downright retarded. But now, when I was arguing, it's like, do you think anime, like when he was saying there's no difference between gatekeeping and elitism, and it was like, do you know what the objective of gatekeeping is, or what gatekeeping is in general? It makes me very question it, because the more it looked like it, because the more it was looked like he was trying to say every anime fan is an elitist, which completely takes away what elitism is. And when it's like, back to the Michael Jordan example, that would also mean some random person that just forms a group in his backyard that just wants to play basketball, that plays them occasionally, someone that plays maybe every
Oh
other
god, I
week.
found the tweet. Oh god.
Yeah. Someone like that, yeah, they would also be considered elitist, in which I think that's fucking absurd.
Oh, Potatoes wrote this. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, that is completely absurd. If that's not what he's trying to say, then maybe I'm wrong in interpreting what he's trying to say, but that's what it really looked like he was trying to say.
Well, in a way, it's like the idea of gatekeeping, or just the word of it, is a buzzword in a certain sense, and it kind of, I guess just the initial like taste of the word is what's causing like the word's not controversy, the conversation of if there should be.
I know where he got the idea that they're the same, and he goes, it's mostly this idea from 4chan, but I'm like, even then, it's like, what? No, okay, the average person on 4chan doesn't see much of a difference, just because of the outcome can be somewhat the same sometimes, but that doesn't mean every single it's basically the difference between, yes, poking someone does physical harm, and then chopping someone's leg off also does physical harm, thus they're the same thing. And it's like, no, that's not it at all, because elitism is way more what's it called,
nuanced?
No, specific. As gatekeeping, when it's talking about keeping certain people out and shit like that, or maybe making them not part of the conversation or shit like that, that is more of a broad label when it comes to talking about people. As in, for gatekeeping, let's see. Okay, and let me situate this so I don't say something wrong real fast. Because when it comes to gatekeeping, like a company, back in Gamergate, what it was is this. I'm going to explain the company first. Oh, this company, quote unquote, got woke. They're, what's it called? Completely taking away the shit it was. A lot of things are being disingenuous. Hey, no one go buy from them. No one fucking do anything with them. It was pretty much like a term for boycotting for when it comes to talking about companies. It's different when it comes to individuals, because you're not really boycotting them as much, really. It's more of just excommunicating them. That is what, and also saying like, no, these ideas are not okay. Not because of quote unquote bad opinions or whatnot, but because it flies in the face of the entire medium. It's kind of like with Anita Sarkeesian and her thing about all video games are sexist, all video games are problematic, and all that shit, and you got to point it all out,
Mm-hmm.
That was like, no, this is not only just blatantly wrong, but this goes against the all of video games and all that shit. So it goes like this, as in this person is to not be taken seriously. The people with this kind of mindset should not be in the fandom. They shouldn't be even like portrayed as part of the fandom. These people should be completely out of the fandom, or at the very least, not welcome. And this is what gatekeeping has always been. Now, does he say it's impossible to have every single person you can't prevent them from joining in the conversation? That's impossible. And it's like, yeah, well, just look at any gate. People can go over a gate. People can go under a gate. People can do whatever. There will be people that break through. But what it is literally mitigating.
So
that is what it was.
So you are.
It's just a mitigation.
So the concept of Anitube gatekeeping would be to try to curb the amounts of people who are bringing toxic, like, conversation into the sphere to make it a little less fucky, if that's what you're trying to say.
I don't know if I would explain it like that, but it is that's close, I guess. What's it called? Let me think.
It's the first...
In returns to Anitube, like, for one, I can't just go and say what it is for it, because from what I see, it looks to be what they're... Because recently I've been seeing a few different kinds of gatekeeping that people are going for, and it's like, I know Nino, he completely just doesn't want new people into the fandom, and he also doesn't want anime to be big. He actually loves it being niche, and everyone that is just tacking it on for as an accessory or whatnot.
I remember now. I'm starting to remember the talk about the whole, like, when we talked about nerdism becoming popular, so everybody was just being a nerd just because it was the cool thing to do, without the connotation that nerds got beat up back in the day.
Yeah. Okay, that wasn't me. Just a clarification, that wasn't me saying that shit. That was someone else. But
I remember that talk.
Yeah, that was I don't know if they want to be named, so I'm just gonna say that was someone else. I remember that talk as well. I don't think it is exactly what he says, and he knows I disagree with him on to the extent that he says it, but I kind of see where he's coming from, because my issue is I don't gatekeep people that are new. I don't gatekeep people that are willing to learn and wants to know about it. And like, if you make a genuine mistake, I would literally just correct you. Like, the more, like, the bigger mistake, the more I might just laugh at it, but I will still just correct them.
I think it's just how they react to that mistake is what you're looking for.
Like, I know, what's it called? I know, what's his name? Canepa. He made a kind of a straw man where it was saying anime, people gatekeeping anime don't want LGBTQ plus people. Actually, he didn't put the Q. Maybe he's trying to drop it after the Steven Crowder thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he doesn't think they exist. But, you know, back to what I was saying. He made that straw man that anime fans don't want the LGBTQ plus people inside anime. And it's like, that is not true at all. There's plenty of people that are part of it that we don't try to gatekeep. And it's more of like those ones that are saying, well, let's see. Because there is no problem with having an interpretation of a character being, let's start with the smallest part and then go bigger.
Uh-huh.
There's no problem with someone interpreting a character as like doing an interpretation, you know, because it's obviously not canon. People do gender bins all the time. People can draw them as trans. You can draw.
There was that whole
whatever.
Nessa Pokemon thing situation that sparked up recently.
But it's like you can draw them as whatever the fuck you want. You can have your own fan fiction. The problem comes when you are trying to make a definitive claim about the series, about the canonology of the character itself. If you are trying to say X person in the series is canonically trans, then most times, for one, it's not true. But because from most of the people that I see, it's just not true. There are some cases it is true, but most I've always seen is not. And the reason why this is bad is you have to completely devoid all context to their backstory or whatnot to make this claim. And by that is like, are you even a fan of that show? Are you trying to what's it called? Are you literally ignoring the context of the character? Are you trying to
throw your personal agenda onto the character, not really for the sake of the character, but just to make an example of your ideology?
Yeah, it's really weird to see this thing. It's like, because when it comes down to it, it's like, are you even a fan? Because you are literally rewriting their character and trying to say that is canon. And it's like, well, if you really like this character, then you wouldn't rewrite them like that, unless it's a fan fiction or whatnot. Because if you're trying to purposely take what they do out of context to whatever it is, then you're not a fan of them. You're not a fan of what they did or whatnot.
So
this is the giant reason on the whole X character is trans thing. Like, and if you can't really grasp that, it's kind of strange. It's very simple of an argument on why people don't like that. Yeah.
So like, so a person making a personal doujin of a character, and they make them
okay because it's clearly not supposed to be canon.
But when so it's only when a person tries to force that type of change on the rest of the populace or tries to make it law, that's when it becomes an issue.
Yes, and this is when, okay, let me explain it with a highly specific thing. The last time I saw it was with Mordred. Okay, and you know how pedantic in them were saying Mordred is trans.
I remember. Now,
yes, and the problem with that is what her backstory is she didn't want to be known as a female, not because she's trans or quote-unquote non-binary like they're saying, but because of she wanted to only be seen as a king and a royalty. And it's like, you're not going to go up to a king and say, hey man, or hey woman, or hey whatever. And it's like, that's just a completely inappropriate thing, especially for their time period. Like, if you did that, it's off of your head. That is what it kind of was. This, and not just that, she didn't like that she was a female, not because she's trans, but because of how society at that time discriminated against them, and she was just hiding it. Her entire thing wasn't she's trans because, or I mean, she's not trans, and that's literally because of all she wanted was the throne. That's all she wanted. Ugh. Do you kind of get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I kind of get it now.
Because that's when it makes you question, are you a fan of the medium? You literally ignored their entire backstory to make this argument. That is the problem.
So is it simply just taking it out of context and then reworking it to make an agenda?
I guess if you want to make it that simple, then yeah.
That's kind of how my brain works, man. And I know it's more. I know it's a lot more complicated than that. This type of if it's trans, is it trans or not?
What it is? Okay, let me try to make it as simple as possible. So so if you are purposely ignoring someone's backstory to push whatever the fuck it is, then there's no possible way you can actually respect that character or whatnot because you are purposely misrepresenting them.
Right.
They become a tool. They become a tool unless of a character. Instead of they're in the story, they just become a vehicle for you to push a different side that may or may not be there.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I get it. I got it.
And yeah, that is the actual problem with shit like that. And that's just like the minor part. It gets even worse the more it goes on because of there's other people that like I'm honestly, there's some people I'm not going to name. I legitimately believe the only reason they watch anime is to push a political agenda. There are some people I definitely believe that. And that's usually through quite a few conversations with them about anime and how that's literally the only thing they can talk about it. And it's usually always taken out of context, and they blame it on, oh, that's just my interpretation. And it's like, yeah, interpretations can be wrong. Like, if your interpretation is completely out there and gets contradicted by the lore or whatever inside the story, then your interpretation is wrong.
Also, by default, interpretation is just a different angle, not one. There's no real one angle that's correct most of the time. There's multiple angles to look at.
Yes, and that I'm not disagreeing that there's multiple interpretations. That is valid. Yes, I honestly do believe there's more than just one interpretation of anything. But that doesn't mean every single interpretation is valid.
Right.
Because because you can definitely be wrong unless you want to say, I watched Sailor Moon, the message of that story is to go and hold on, let me think of something to not get your channel yeeted. Because I was just about to bring up the let's just say World War II. Let me see.
Are we creating like a fake controversy?
Yeah, what we're saying is how to show that interpretations can be wrong. Let's say I watched Sailor Moon, and my interpretation of it is that you can jack off into the television and create monsters from the 8th dimension until Bugs Bunny comes and just fucking saves the universe using a toothpick and a rubber band. It's like that interpretation is definitely wrong.
Sounds fun, though.
There's no possible way you can make this argument.
But what if he had 2 rubber bands?
Okay, if they said 2, then they might have a point. But
yes,
it's like people don't understand that. Yes, interpretations can be wrong. Just because it's your opinion doesn't mean your opinion can't be wrong. Because there is actually such thing as wrong opinion. If your opinion is completely devoid of all reality.
It's not a wrong opinion. It's a glamorized opinion with all that cinnamony glimmer goodness.
Yeah.
An incredible side note here, back in a comment way before the chat. Where was it? Shoot. Wow. When are we going to talk about Nux and his hentai videos?
Yeah, I don't mind. Whenever. Are we done with this conversation?
Yep.
All right. We can go to the hentai. What part do you want to know? What specifically?
That was just the statement on the chat by Stuffy D4HL, I believe. Yeah. Oh no, sorry. Handsome hipster. Sorry, handsome hipster. My bad.
Yeah. I like the series. I wish he did more research when he would do them. Just because almost everything he's talked about I've seen, and I'm like, that's blatantly not what happened in some of them.
I'm surprised I've seen more in the video. I've seen more of the actual hentai talked about.
Yeah, I've seen like all of them, and I went to confront him about it and whatnot. So I kind of criticized him in the DMs and whatnot, and it's like, no, this is just wrong. That's not what happened at all. And whatnot. We talked and how he came to these conclusions and whatnot. Yeah, it's just nice.
Any other comments we got, Lamp?
Let's see. So after that one, wait, where'd it go? Jake, back when you talk about anime bullying, it's ridiculous. Jake Ireland says it's ridiculous. No one can physically prevent someone else from picking up a hobby, and if someone is serious about the hobby, they will do work to open the gates. Says the next comment.
Oh yeah,
gatekeeping.
Yes.
Anyway.
Okay. As I said, yes, you can't actually make someone not go into the hobby. If they want to, then that's literally all of them. But the only thing you can curb is their interaction with the community. The community is what the gatekeeping is talking about. Like, anyone can pick up the hobby. That is unavoidable unless you physically go there and gatekeep them. But
you shall not pass.
You shall not play this game.
And then you guys mentioned Canepa. There's a comment about that. Canepa is scared that anime will fall out. Discourse will fall out of the hands of the left and into centrists.
Oh yes, that is 100% true. Because if they don't like any type of gatekeeping, none at all. And it's like, yeah, you know why they have that standard. And that's because if they allowed gatekeeping, the first people that was going to be gatekeeped out is going to be communists and all of them, like the really far left. And that's all of them.
That's good. What was I going to say?
Like, they are literally going to be the first people and that everyone's going to quote-unquote boycott, because they're going to see YouTubers as the corporation definition of gatekeeping, which means a lot of them is going to start refusing to watch their content.
It all depends on the definition of that left too, because I don't know the only issue I have,
it's the same kind of left that we've been saying since Gamergate. They don't mean any leftist. They mean the far, like, completely.
You mean the extreme people?
Yes.
Okay. I think,
but
all the extreme people
also
would
go with the far right.
Yeah, the extreme people on all sides would probably go first. On that note, so to do a very messy segue, so let's talk about your video series. Let's bring it back to you some more. You're This Week in Anitube. Tell me vaguely in detail, how are you bringing it together so far? How you involve in it? How do you choose certain topics? Do you let favoritism you don't. We all know that, but I want to know, do people ever try to be like, you should highlight this? Like, tell me the beef, man. Tell me.
I've never heard anyone say that I can't say I've never heard. I have heard one person actually say I should have highlighted a certain other thing, and I was like, oh, I just flat out didn't even get that video in my subscription feed. And yeah, there was that, but how I do it is that I'm subscribed to almost all 200, and I go through my subscription list and just watch every single video there is there, every single one of them, and I pick out which ones that I feel could either have me have a conversation about something I disagree with vehemently, or I have something I feel the general audience would like, or like to talk about, or should know, or someone I feel should get a spotlight on. What's it called? The This Week in Anitube is actually kind of brilliant, because if you look at my channel,
I'm looking at I've been staring at it for a minute now.
Almost every single video I have promotes someone else. And I don't know if anyone really noticed that, and that's mostly because I just like promoting what I like watching.
Yeah, and promoting really, and we gotta kind of do that to promote each other.
Like, every single video of mine is promoting someone else, almost every single one. And because of that, it is actually what's it called? Just a nice thing, something to do.
No, I know you've already only had 2 episodes of This Week at Anitube.
Yes, okay, let me explain that. I took a break not because This Week in Anitube is hard or any of that, but because I went on a vacation with my stepbrother and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm back, I'm not sure when I want to start it from, and I'm having a bit of a thing of not knowing when should I do it, what days should I have it, because I was talking to Nux and was talking about how I should be making it a consistent thing and on a consistent day and time. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to come out of vacation kind of like thing, I'm kind of wondering, shit, what day am I going to pick?
You either could... Oh, go ahead,
I've been thinking about starting and doing all the recording and whatnot on Monday, and then putting the video out on Tuesday. Yeah, that's what I've been thinking.
Yeah, because from what you've told me, it surprisingly doesn't take that long to make.
No, it does. It depends on how much I mess up. That's kind of what it is.
So, like, well, you could just do the past month and then just continue from there.
Yeah. Oh no, that's a guarantee. That's what I'm going to do. But I'm kind of trying to figure out what videos I'm going to be limiting, and like, because I don't want it to be like just because I've been gone a long time. I don't want it to be like a super long.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Week.
All right.
It is something I can shine spotlight to, which I'm going to talk about, do a review next one, leaving the anime community, and I'm also going to talk about Monkey Jones rejoining the anime community.
Woo!
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask the rhetorical question in the room, because with a series like this, it's always going to be, I think it might be asked at least once, or maybe I'm just being pompous, but... So, like, the ratio, obviously, to get people to watch the This Week at Anitube, you can't just put it, what's the ratio between YouTubers people actually know versus new people? Like, do you structure it where you put, like, do you structure it by putting, like...
structure it a bit, and that's usually, it has to literally be a case-to-case basis. I mean, I haven't figured out any kind of formula, but I do structure it because at the beginning, with the This Week in Anitube 2, the way I felt that could be best was this Week in Anitube. I did in number 2, I did Nux Taku first, just because that's what everyone would know first.
Mm-hmm.
But I made all the ones related to it after. So it was a My Hero Academia, Nux Taku Bakugo Dies. Next one was another My Hero Academia one, What the Whats. And then I did a My Hero Academia one, Ember Review. That is how I was structuring it. And then I did the Harvikin one that was just hilarious, that I just wanted to shine. And from then, I would either have to find another structure, or I'm just pick and choose random things. So I do try to structure it a little bit.
I see. I mean, it sounds like a big to the small to big YouTuber sandwich, in my opinion. You're putting all of the mid or small YouTubers in the middle of the video in a way, but you're going by you're kind of flowing by topic, and then starting and ending with the bigger ones, so that it kind of keeps people to stay throughout the entire video.
Mm-hmm. There's that. Yeah, I've also what's it called? Like in the first one, I'm trying to remember what topics was in my first one.
Now, dumb question while you're thinking. Now, when you mean This Week in Anitube, it would have to be a video someone put out that week, or the week you're watching it, or the...
Yes.
Okay. So there would be, like, no, like, grace period of, like, 2 weeks because you're making the video in a day. But then again, you're making the video in a day, so it's not like you're making the video in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So it won't be like, oh, this person made a video 2 years ago. I'm going to talk about it in This Week in Anitube. Like, no, I'm not doing that.
Okay. Just just getting the stupid question out the way. Do you ever feel like it? Well, no, that's not a good question either because you only made 2 episodes, so you wouldn't know if it would go stale really quick or. Would you say that like a lot of your content that's about news or just drama in general, or just normal random topics, do you think that there will be any like little problems that you're starting to foresee with This Week at Anitube? Like anything you might have to worry about, like scheduling, the ratio of type of people, or the topics, or who you highlight when you highlight it. I know one of them is obviously you would take a break and then you have to catch up to like all 200 of us who may or may not have made a video.
Okay, well, here's the thing. There is a lot of big people. I pretty much am saying no, I'm not going to cover them ever unless what their video is going to be what's it called? Something to talk about. Like Gigux videos, I'm not going to talk about Gigux videos, and that's specific unless it's a really interesting conversation, and that is specifically because everyone already knows it.
Yeah, it's the same thing with my podcast. I wouldn't have anybody too big because everybody would know them, and my point of the podcast is to highlight smaller people to mid-tier, smaller to mid-tier people. So yeah,
I'm not going to talk about like Giga. That may change later just because I've been recently thinking, like, is that even fair to do? Because technically, yes, it is part of This Week in Anitube, and it is what people would be quote unquote talking about.
You could put them at the end, because that would be a good end note.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this standard because the people I felt like I'm not going to talk about is possibly going to be Giguk, Mother's Basement. I'm not sure about Super Eye Patch Wolf. That one's in the air. Misty Cronexia, Arcata. Let's see, possibly Nux Taku. What's it called? Let's see.
Pretty you had a video within the second.
Joey.
Yeah.
And that's as I said, the exception is if what's it called? There's an interesting topic. If the topic itself is interesting enough, that will be the exception.
So
I do think the Bakugo's death thing with how it was done was actually hilarious.
Yeah, that was a masterclass in trolling right there. So
2 comments recently. One, just when you're unknown, you were going to talk about that kind of stuff. One comment, you could talk about it for like 5 seconds and move on. Note he made a video or something. I
don't feel like doing something like that because what's it called? I want every topic that I talk about to actually be interesting and allow you to actually see what I'm trying to say. And so if I bring up, oh, this person made a video and it's good and it's bad, why did I even bring it up?
Right.
I don't like that kind of thing. I see it so many times with stuff like when I see it. I've seen it with exclamation point when he did that with the reviews, and I was like, yeah, I don't like that. And it's like if you have nothing interesting to say about the thing, then why even have it?
Right.
I just flat out don't like doing that.
All right, so in that vein, would you say that the type of content, depending on the type of content a YouTuber does, would gear towards being featured on your This Week at Anitube? Because it sounds to me, in a way, that discussion topics or analytical topics would be a lot more palatable for your type of onlooking than, say, something like reviews.
Yeah, that's just in the inherent basis of making it. Like, sometimes you can have people that just do, like, episode reviewers that are never going to be on what I talk about unless what they say is actually that bad. What's it called? Because for one, I don't really watch episode reviewers, and 2, what's it called? I'm trying to think.
They do stuff every day.
Yeah, they do stuff every day. There's no possible way I can.
Or 3 times a
really...
day. Some of them do 3 times a day.
Yeah, there's no possible way I can do that. Just because I don't like the content. I don't think that I could do it for that amount. Like, watching all of that stuff. Like, I tried for about 3 weeks to watch every episode reviewer. And no, I figured out I really, really hate that content.
It's hard to keep up because they do post like 3 times a day. And like, it's easy to have one YouTuber that you have for the episode reviews, but I feel like that's the devil's advocate to them. They post daily, so they don't have to get many views on their videos, as long as they post every day. But the problem is that either if you're not into the anime or manga they're talking about, you kind of feel lost. And
well, no, I don't even feel lost when doing it. Trust me, they explain literally everything that happens inside the video.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. But like, compared to like the videos you do feature on This Week at Anitube, like the ones that are about discussions, or I don't know, reviews would count in this vein because it's more like it's more because reviews would be just normal reviews, not like episode reviews. So an anime review of Sword Art Online or something, or like how would because like every like. Just like what I'm doing right now with this podcast, or what you're doing with This Week at Anitube, everyone's got their bias when it's their show and when they do something, and what they do and what parameters.
I'm not gonna lie, there is going to be a bias, and that's just inherent with how you do it.
Yeah, that's natural.
Because it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna have episode reviewers on just because I don't watch them and whatnot, so I can't really get news from them.
Yeah.
A quote unquote news.
Yeah, it's your prerogative. It's your show.
Yeah, and because I have to, and what I said is I have to know, like, have something interesting to say, and I think, let's see, someone like Affy, you know, I fucking love him and all that shit. Like, he's hilarious and whatnot, and I love talking to him. But am I really going to feature an Affy video in This Week in Anitube? Probably not, because Affy, he just makes meme shitpost videos.
Yeah, shitposting would also be kind of hard to do in a This Week in Anitube.
So there's no possible way I could do stuff like that into the This Week in Anitube. And like, the bias isn't like whether I like them or not. The bias is whether I can find something to talk about,
or will it actually
interesting,
or will it logistically work.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. I'm just glad it's a good series that's kind of like you're working towards. It's unique. Well, or should I say the demand is less. I know that this is not the first channel that's done it This Week at Anitube, but I feel like you're trying to, like, what's the word? It's not modernize. The word is not condense.
Reinvent.
Yeah, you're trying to reinvent the idea of highlighting Anitube in a way that gives it would, like, in the best case scenario, it would make you the messaging board about hey, what the shit's going on, without someone trying to punch you in the face. Isn't that, or like, you know, like, drama doesn't have to be so involved. Like, you can, like, you have your opinion in these videos as I've watched both, and there, as well as everybody who has their opinions on the videos they make. But you know, it's a good type of video series that could bring big and YouTubers alike together to strive to make their videos better and maybe catch your eye. Of course, like you said, there's bias. Everyone's got a bias, but we shouldn't feel ourselves down on it. It's just another good way to, like, you know, make us more central, make us more centralized as a community.
Yeah.
Also, Pop and Todd says vibe check.
Yes, we must all check our vibes.
So, another thing I've been doing recently is another thing that's taken up a lot of my time is World of Warcraft.
Oh, yes.
Ugh.
Oh, I
Wow.
totally did not know that. It's not like you play it like so much. So
I mean, I'm literally doing a raid as we're doing this.
Oh my god.
Hey, that's a good use of time. I respect that.
Lamp.
Yeah, I'm literally running Onyxia right now as we're speaking.
I used to play WoW. It was a time sink for me. It was fun, but I lost so much money and hours to it. I'm like, I gotta go do something else. I gotta stop, and I had to walk away.
I'm not losing you.
Our server.
Oh no, trust me, I'm not playing it again. I'm not playing it again.
I love it because our guild, or not guild, our group was almost the first group to down Ragnaros.
Oh.
But our group was one of the first to loot a legendary item.
I stopped at Lich King. I couldn't get past that. I stopped at that
Lich
expansion.
King was by far my favorite.
But I stopped because I have a bunch of time on that game, and I'm like, I don't have patience anymore. I can barely play a single Overwatch match before I start hating myself for not doing something productive.
Yeah, I know how that feels. I remember what's it called. I looked at the backstress played in my on some of my characters, and if I add them up, in-game time played is over a year.
Wow. Nice. That respect to that too. Actually,
and I say bond over World of Warcraft. I sat in the background staring at the space.
When it comes down to it, like I fucking do I know exactly what to do, how to do it, everything about it, and whatnot. So like technically I'm supposed to be in their raid call, but they allow me not to, just because they know I'm not going to fuck up, and I know exactly what I need to do. So they're allowing me to be out.
I have a certain set of skills that'll make this raid go really smoothly.
Yeah, I wasn't the one that messed up in this entire raid. We literally just wiped, and that was because, hilariously enough, someone didn't join the voice chat, and it wasn't me that fucked up.
Oh.
That's the important part. It wasn't you.
Yeah, I know. It was someone, they couldn't keep aggro. The tank wasn't keeping aggro, and that's not on them. Because Onyxia is immune to taunt.
Oh.
What's it called? And because of that, you have to watch your DPS. And the one DPS person, they were apparently constantly being called out, saying to stop DPS in voice chat, and they weren't in voice chat.
Oh. Yeah,
and they pulled the aggro right on the breath and wiped half the raid.
Oh, that's fun. Please stand in the fire. It helps everyone.
Nah, in Onyxia is an instant kill to whoever's not a tank. So it hit half the raid and killed half of the raid.
Oh no, that's funny though. It happens. It happens.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, that was a tangent.
Yeah, that's the tangent. Yeah, back to what we were talking about.
Oh god, before WoW, oh god, my brain almost checked out because I almost lost.
To say there's something before WoW.
Yeah, it was called RuneScape.
Which I have a couple.
Okay, you stop. No, Lamp. No.
I have a couple of videos that are going to come out that are World of Warcraft related. I have them mostly edited, and that's just because of what's it called? For one, I love World of Warcraft. It's really fucking fun and whatnot, and I love the lore in it. But yeah, I have a few joke videos that are going to come out. Well, one's a joke, one's a goddamn tutorial that no one fucking does. Like, no one knows how to do a certain part, and I've seen no tutorial for it, so I'm just going to make it.
When you can't find it, make it yourself. The good old mantra.
Yeah, that's literally it. But yeah.
Any other video ideas you have in the makings before we kinda?
Yes. I think I'm still going to make that Mother's Basement video, but that may take a while. I sent Kaiser my video on what's it called? Anime Expo about 2 months ago to edit. It still hasn't been finished editing, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, Kaiser. I know I said, it's been like a month or two. I know I said, if the other people are paying more, then you could put mine on the side for a bit. But I didn't know how often that would actually happen.
He is getting popular in the Anitube editor space, so...
Yes, he is. And that's because he's really good.
Yeah.
So, like, I pay a little less, but that's under the pretense of I don't have a set time for him to do it. I also, unlike everyone else, he does it at his own pace. He has a lot of control when it comes to what happens and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. I
edit the audio. Not just my audio. I edit the audio he puts in as well.
Mm-hmm.
I also am the one that finds the music and whatnot. And if someone's paying him more, then I say, hey, you can stop on mine, work on theirs, finish theirs, and come back to mine. So mine's literally just something he can do on his off time.
He's so good. He's got a waiting list. He's got a waiting list now.
Yes, and that is that was our agreement to him being an editor, so that it's literally if he has free time that he wants to do it or make money on the side or whatnot, he can do mine, and that's way more lenient than every other person I've ever seen offer for editing job.
I mean, unfortunately, I missed my last recent opportunity to get something edited from him, even though it was just a script because of my own personal issues going on in my life. But I generally appreciate people like him for helping out with the thing. I mean, I have Lamp to help. Yes, I have Lamp, luckily, who's been with me since the beginning. So, luckily, I do have a way. It's just like, it's also good to have, but Kaiser, who may or may not never ever listen to this part, Kaiser's great, and I hope he keeps finding work and eventually gets a good groove going, whatever he's doing. Yes.
I have let's see. I know my channel, I do a lot of like stuff that is like, hey, I don't agree with this or whatnot, and that's usually the basis of most of my channel.
Mm-hmm.
You can definitely see that.
So, okay, so on to as I move to my next big topic. Okay, so essentially, you're like, since you're essentially Anime's informant, the Anitube informant. We were talking about earlier before I passed out about anime, like official anime news in general, and how
reliable it is,
and how big air quotes reliable it has become, and stuff, and what it will focus on, or like, heck, even if you take out all the drama stuff, I personally believe right now a lot of the news is just promoting other shit. And I know that, okay, I know anime is mostly about promoting other shit. Most things are about promoting other shit. But, like, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that every time I see something on ANN, it's mostly just an ad for something else. If it's not like there's less reviews and more like, hey, you should check out this mobile game. I'm seeing a lot of mobile game shit.
Yeah, it depends on which ones. Like, I know Anime News Network, they still talk about, like, here's the thing. I don't go and buy into the stuff that say pretty much all of ANN is bad and whatnot, and they have nothing. I'm like, no, I do think they have massive biases in a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't discredit the entirety of it.
Yeah, because there are different writers. There are different writers to ANN, and like there are a lot of articles, as I say, that have nothing to do with like drama stuff at all.
I follow a couple people that write for ANN.
Like, I like the Answer Man's articles in there.
But yeah, but I wouldn't. I myself would not link ANN stuff usually. For one, it's the credibility's pretty questionable, and two, what's it called? On certain people, like public perception of ANN's credibility is, especially with this whole Vic situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's ANN is not the only like anime news place. There's also Boing.
They're just the first.
They're just the first and the biggest. There's also Boing, shit. What's it called? Starts with a B. Boingo Anime News. I'm gonna get it wrong. We'll figure it out. There's other. I'm just saying, there's other news. There's other news cycles for anime out there, and I wonder what the intention is. I know, like, for example, in game journalism, the big issue is people like saying a review and then just giving them a high score anyway because that's just what the company wants, and that's that controversy.
Like, I would have to look more into like exactly on the, because most of the time when it comes to ANN and whatnot, I don't go in and look at, oh, did they get this correct and whatnot, because most of the time, for one, it's usually such a small topic, I really don't care whether it's true or not, just because of it's something to read once and then forget later, and if it is, if I have to use it as an actual source or whatnot, then I would actually go look everything up myself, because that's kind of what you do when it comes to information. You got to find out, okay, they say this, where did they get this idea from? Where did they get this kind of mentality? How did they come to this conclusion? Because a lot of because this is news websites in general, because they always have some kind of narrative to push, and you can manipulate stats to mean whatever the fuck you want it to mean. People don't really notice all that much. You can make them be whatever you want.
All right, so let's compare that to.
Yeah.
So let's compare that to the more opinion comments. The more opinion columns. There we go. Opinion columns they do on their site, like the written reviews and the written articles about, you know, things that would get some kind of conversation going. I think those are done for the most part pretty well. I haven't seen like a real review on ANN that I would say I'm totally like in hatred of or say it's dumb. It definitely is not going to be like a video review you would see on YouTube, but like, do you think that, I guess this is just a general like news text versus video question. Do you think that opinion columns on these anime news sites, do you think that they are still a worthy addition, or do you think they just focus on?
Okay, this is actually one thing that I've been trying to think and explain for a long time, because I don't think opinions are inherently worthless or something like that. They have their place in what they do, and a lot of people really want to know people's opinions about things. It all depends on what are you covering, how are you covering it, is this opinion valid, what kind of content are you doing in general, because when I was thinking of this, I was thinking about doing it in about Anitube in rather than just media in general, but it could apply to media in general, just because it's like let me think, more of like, okay, I know a lot of people like objective quote unquote things and whatnot, and like when it comes down to it, why would in my opinion, I do think people's opinions and shit can upbring whatever the topic is. And that's just because I am actually fascinated by people's interpretations and people's like views on things, like how people see it. And I usually like, because here's the thing, I can like Fat Man Falling's giant long few hour review just stripping down Ruby at every conceivable level that you can do, just because it shows that the flaws inside the show are numerous and even the themes don't really make sense or whatnot, and how the storytelling is just bad in general. But I can also love Unique Namosaurus's video praising Ruby for the reasons it is, what he likes about it. And it's like, it is a structured argument that starts from the bottom and goes up, that completely shows that it is a valid reason to like the show. And I do love seeing these kind of like things for stuff like that. So I do think opinions and opinion quote unquote pieces do have a place when it comes to people trying to consume these things, and it can actually make it far more interesting. Although if we're talking should opinion pieces be taken as fact, that is a no. I don't think necessarily they should be taken as fact. And you have to be really what's it called? How you cover these kind of situations has to be taken into account. Let's say, because when it comes down to it, like let's talk about the Vic situation and whatnot. Like, you can have your opinion about Vic and whatnot, but if you're going to write on an entire fucking article, I'm just using this as an example. Let's just use one that it isn't real. Hold on. Disclosure, this part isn't real. Let's say if all of a sudden ANN's like, well, it's my opinion that Vic is a rapist or whatever or whatnot, blah, 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 just completely goes and does that. And it's like, well, there's a huge problem with trying to say that as, oh, that's just your opinion. Because you're, not only is that still a pretty shitty thing to say, especially without evidence, what kind of form of logic are you using to do it? Like, if you don't have any argument to back up what your opinion is, then your opinion is worthless, because if you have nothing to concrete what your opinion is, that is worthless, and all opinion pieces like that shouldn't really be a thing, in my opinion. But two, opinion pieces, just putting the idea out there that they could be something is detrimental to the character of whoever they are talking about. Just because even if 99% don't believe it, and you still just made 1% believe it, and if that 1% just keeps going and telling more people, it will have an echoing effect of constantly having more people believe it. And just remember, this was on a fake example. I don't remember off the top of my head what the real example was, so I'm using a fake example for that. That's my thoughts on opinion pieces.
That's fair.
Yeah. Because I see opinion pieces
okay there?
pretty
I'm
often.
I'm okay. I was listening intently and then I almost fell out my chair again.
Of course. And one comment to that.
I like these questions because a lot of these questions are stuff I've thought about for a long time, actually, and felt like putting them into a video. I just haven't scripted it out yet.
And one comment from Aldwin Ryder. I mean, anime news is different from game journalism in that 99% of all the news just has to be taken and translated from Japan, unless you're talking about local licensed news.
Yeah. That's not necessarily false. Because what's it called? Yeah, you do have a point there. That's mostly because of when it's talking about anime news. That's mostly about overseas rather than what's happening here. There's some things that happen here that they do report on, and then the Vic situation, of course. But yeah, yeah, that's a fair argument to say. A lot of it is that I wouldn't say they exactly just translate it. I don't think that's what they do, but I don't have any. I don't compare, so I'm not sure if that's. I don't know if that. I don't have the knowledge whether or not that is exactly what they do. I don't know. I I doubt that's how they do it. They just translate it. If anything, they probably read articles and then see the sources and then reword it and show what their stance or interpretation or whatnot on it. I think that's probably more likely than just literally translating it. But I could be wrong. Yeah. I haven't looked into that stuff. That's something that's just brought into my attention right now.
Yeah, that tends to happen. That tends to happen here. I just thought
because I just figured what's it called? It was mostly articles from Japan, and what they do is they get as many articles talking about that situation, and then they write their own based off of the other stuff. I didn't think they actually just translate it.
I mean, it's what it seems from my opinion. It seems like they would just translate the news. Like they would have a news article about Demon Slayer, for example, about having a new movie. They would have one article to announce the translated, hey, there's a new movie, and then another article being an opinion piece about it. It seems more separate compared to game journalism, or maybe that's just me. Where, like, because in game journalism, where it is already localized, you can put an opinion within the same article. But with this type of genre of entertainment, you would need to separate it as to not confuse things. You know,
I would have to actually look more into that because that's not how I thought the stuff happened. I didn't think exactly like that. I would have to look into that.
It's just a curiosity thought. I mean, that's how I've always seen how anime news is handled. They just have they have one article for the actual news topic, and they might make a second like column for opinions.
Yeah. What's it called? If that is literally all they do, then that's kind of sad to call yourself a journalist if all you do is just translate it.
You are a modern day scribe, not a journalist.
Yeah, that's literally all you are. You're a translator. You're not a journalist.
I mean, I was talking about earlier in a video about a month and a half ago about blogging that kind of puts more confusion to the fray. And by the way, that website that I found that article on, that was just clickbait, because it gets to the point where like blogging is like, hey, like a few sentences about, hey, this is that. And then
I know exactly what situation you're talking about, where the people inside there was saying that was pretty much saying it's good because it was made by someone who was black.
Oh no! I was more talking about in that particular article how it wasn't really an article. It was just 2 or 3 sentences of, hey, this is this, and then they're like, this is what other people are saying about it, and they just have screenshots of other people's Twitters, and I feel like that's cowardly. Like, make your own damn opinion.
Sakura Complex is definitely not known for their hard-hitting journalism.
Oh, they're known for a certain type of attaching clickbait, but that would also get me shabammed from YouTube.
Two comments in the chat here. Thoughts on Funimation changing a line for the 4th time in one of the shows.
I mean, this is par for the course by now. Like, if you want to keep supporting Funimation, I mean, that's all on you.
It's also legally sometimes they have to change names. Like, that was the whole controversy of JoJo's Part 5. All the stands got changed because they were scared of getting sued.
I'm not even sure about that. I would actually have to look that up because I've been hearing that that's actually bullshit. And I'm like, what?
And then
so I'm going to have to actually look that up. And
I mean, like,
I want to talk to possibly Nick Takeda about that. That would actually be a very interesting thing to figure out whether or not they actually have to change it from that.
I mean, I know
it sounds believable, and it's like, yeah, it does sound like you actually have to change it.
And but the other comment
I'm not a lawyer, so that could actually be BS. I think they have to, in my opinion, but I've been hearing some dissent on that.
Sorry, Lamp, what you got?
The other comment was also use Katsu News over ANN. It's way better.
I haven't tried Katsu News. I've tried most of the other ones, like Tokyo Otaku Mode. They were kind of loud in their business until they weren't. I didn't hear much of them about their news. Maybe they do their columns differently and actually kind of write their opinions within it. But I don't know. It's just like people changing localization. I wouldn't think that they would. I don't think in general. I'm not talking about a specific example. I don't think in general a anime news article would change a news article for political preference.
In general, no. In specific, yes. There are certain ones that would definitely do that.
Like, give me an example.
Ooh, I don't like naming it without having evidence in front of me to actually back up my claims.
Go vague. Go vague on the concept.
No, that's the thing. I normally don't like saying stuff that I don't have evidence right in front of me.
All right.
To say. That's kind of how what's it called? I try to keep as much credibility to me as I can as possible, and the way for me to do that is have literally everything I say. I can usually back it up with either some kind of proof or some kind of thing. I can pull it up real fast. If I don't have that kind of thing on me at the moment, then I don't think I will want to say it until on specific things.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
That's fair. Let's see. I don't know. I mean,
when you're someone that goes and has a voice and all that shit, and when I mean voice, I mean that in a very loose term. When you go and want to talk about stuff, or you want to be the kind of person that says no, you're wrong and whatnot, you kind of need your credibility, which is why I try to back up everything I say. It may take an extremely long process, but it usually comes out 100% accurate. And if it's something that I don't know, or if it's something that I say it could possibly be misinterpreted, I usually try to preface that I could be wrong. That what's it called? Just on the mere fact of it could be seen in multiple ways, or maybe I might not be an expert in that area, so I'm not going to just speak on it as a definitive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just some things that I do for that stuff. But yeah, what's the next topic?
Let's see, we got about 10-15 minutes left, so I wanted to talk about. I wanted to hit a random video you did. Just.
All right, shoot.
Okay. What's a good one? Because I was going back and forth between it. Okay. Explain what's actually in an OP. Isn't that one? Explain it. You were going to tell me all the behind the scenes of that one. Go.
Okay, so what's actually in an OP? You know, do you know Mother's Basement's What's in an OP series?
Yes.
Okay, so me thinking of that actually made me think of Mother's Basement's What's an OP series, and then the other thing of Ekong saying there is no such thing as too deep.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's it called? I had a bit of a talk with Core on one of the comments, and it was talking about how if there's no because he agrees that there's no such thing as too deep, but the way to emphasize this is if someone goes and explains it that is contradicting to the story or whatnot, that means they just did it wrong, analyzed it wrong, and that's where the real it's not too quote unquote deep comes from. Is that the person there was seeing things that weren't there, but not because of not because it was quote unquote too deep, but because it was contradicting to the story. And I was like, Then I felt like making a What's in an OP, just doing regular show that doesn't actually contradict the story. And then make every single thing from it look as what's it called? A 100% serious thing. Not 100. Yeah. What's it called? 100% consistent thing. So
Yeah.
that every single thing there is not untrue. Well, except for one part, we apparently mixed something up in there. I would have to remember. It had something to do with the timeline of skepticism.
Mm-hmm.
But besides that, everything there is actually technically present inside the goddamn opening. But I am pulling it out my ass, of course.
So it's a satire of what's actual, because this is because I originally thought this was a satire on what's actually in an OP series.
Oh no. Okay, here's the thing. Because me and what were talking about it before it happened, and he's like asking if I wanted to do a What's in an OP series, and I was like, I'm not usually good at symbolism and whatnot, but I think I could take a crack at it. If I was going to do one seriously, it would be Hellgirl. And he's like, all right. And then I started to think about it. So I eventually decided to do one on regular show, mostly because I kept thinking of inside the entire thing. I kept thinking of the there's no such thing as too deep argument that I disagree with on the base level because if you think there are no contradictions is the only way to check if it's valid of an interpretation, then what I said inside that regular show OP is a valid interpretation. I because one thing I love doing is arguing from absurdity. What's it called? But at the same time, it's yeah, so it's not really making fun of what's in an OP series, and that's also because of I actually like what's OP series. I dislike Mother's Basements usually because sometimes he actually does either devoid of what the lyrics mean. Sometimes he will just not have the lyrics or have very minimal to the lyrics, and it's like you do know companies when they are making these OPs, they literally either make the entire song or they have what's it called?
A cover?
No. They either make the entire song or they give a parameter of saying, "Hey, you are in this band. I want you to hit these themes and these core stuff for this opening, and it's going to be used." Which this was explained in multiple videos of actual interviews of people that how they got their songs onto
anime.
Yes, on anime openings.
Yeah, like.
Fuck. I couldn't make it.
Let me guess. Is it WoW related?
Yeah. What's it called? All of a sudden, Onyxia started breathing and turned directly towards me. Normally, she doesn't turn to someone when doing the breathing. And I was like, oh no. And it was literally an equal run from one side to the other, no matter what. It was going to be a 10 or so second run to get out of the way, and I just couldn't make it. Oh. Yeah.
Well, then with so essentially like, okay, so, and I know this is about what, but about with what's actual in an OP series.
Okay, yes. Back to what I was saying. Yes, I like it, and it actually goes and talks about each meaning of the lyrics. Because even if you want to say, oh, well, they just went and talk about a general theme, and it's like, yep, technically, yes, because the person who made, I think it was like Naruto's like 16th opening or whatnot, he said, what's it called? He went in and they told him to make a theme about XY thing and has to hit certain notes of the thing, of the song. And it's like, okay, that's nice. And then they make the song, they send that song to them, and then they make an animation around the lyrics and around the song itself and to hit certain beats. So every single thing should line up with the lyrics as well. So if you take out the lyrics or whatnot, it doesn't or if what you're saying contradicts the lyrics, you're more than likely wrong. Just on the mere fact of how the openings are made. And I'm a little disappointed that What the What didn't actually show like some of these things when it comes to the process of how they make anime openings, because I actually think the process of them making anime openings is genuinely interesting in that sense. Because I didn't used to know that they make openings based on the show itself. And because I thought it was mostly like a lot of bands, they made like songs and they just picked that song and whatnot. It's like, I used to think that like many years ago. And eventually I figured out that that wasn't a thing. That's actually not how that happens. What's it called? Like, it wasn't until like a little before I found Mother's Basement's What's an OP series did I start actually knowing how openings are made. And then it was hilarious. It was because I was doing research on openings and a lot about how certain things are made. Did I find Mother's Basement's series on it, and I just didn't like it at all.
And
yeah, that's
maybe one day I'll truly
understand.
Maybe one day I'll truly understand the whole Mother's Basement hate. It's just, for now, I'm gonna just keep watching on from afar, as because out of every other the bigger YouTubers, he seems to be the one I see the most publicly get kind of dunked on, and I know that he has his own like political views and stuff, and even, but like at the same, and I know the piracy thing really kind of set the community aflame. At the same time, though, it's like, I just hope that people don't talk bad about him just to bandwagon, because that makes it all more confusing.
Yeah, I try to never just go into collectivist thinking, thus everything he has done is bad, and I try to not fall under that. As much, if he's done something good, I will admit, yeah, that is good. I've seen a few videos of him that I say, yeah, that's genuinely good. I know Stuffy speaks pretty good on his on his PSA series, the PSA series. I haven't seen them myself, but Stuffy says they're actually decently good and funny and knowledgeable. So if he's saying it, it's probably true. So if what's it called? Because I try to not have like it to have like no real reason to not like someone's content or not like them or whatever. I try to base as much of my decisions as possible into whatever into some kind of objective reasoning. I try to, but of course it's not possible for a human to have literally every single thing like that. Ugh. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I think now it's 8:00. I think we're about good. So before we head off, would you like to say one more time who you are, where people could find you and all that stuff? And
yes, I'm the Unknown Otaku. I sometimes do what's it called? I sometimes do anime related videos, and I also do a lot of anime drama as well. It's a collab kind of thing with me and Neo. We just do it as well, which is also why my Twitter is Unknown Otaku Neo. Sometimes she gets on the Twitter, and of course, people. Let's just say me and her, we argue about what should be said and what shouldn't be said. But yeah, most of the time it is me. She rarely gets on it, but sometimes she does to just say random things. That's why if it looks so sporadic on my Twitter, it's like, this doesn't sound like something he would say, and it's like, yeah, you or how much she would say, or whoever. What's it called? Yeah, that you definitely would you can think that, and that's mostly because it is between two people. It's possible that it is not me and it's actually her tweeting that one. She doesn't have her own, mostly because she wants to stay as far away from the internet as possible.
Oh.
And by that I mean, like, she doesn't want a personality out there. Besides making maybe a little character to know that it is someone there. We've been talking about a design for her, but yeah, that's about it. The way we make our thing is actually I do the script, the first draft, and then me and her, we argue over the script for like ever and a half and see if it can be like, what's it called? Either I play devil's advocate or she plays devil's advocate, and we just try to get whatever the best arguments are for each thing, so that what's it called? To make it as airtight as possible. Sometimes she will edit, sometimes I will edit, sometimes it's both of us, and then there's also the times that we will just send it to Kaiser to edit. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes between me and Neo. It's a bit of a hassle.
All right.
It works out pretty good.
I'm glad it does. Is that, before, I don't want to cut you off, is that anything else you want to say? We good?
I think that's about it. Yeah, I'm the Unknown Otaku. I do drama, and also I do some anime reviews from every now and then. I do have some planned. I just keep fucking getting my mind scattered on like random topics.
And
like,
wow.
No, not even that. It's like, oh, I want to do this topic. Ooh, I want to do this topic. Ooh, I want to do this topic. And like, if you looked at my things, all my scripts, I have like 30 incomplete scripts, and they're all like at least like 50% done. I just never fully committed to any of them. Or there is a lot that I did commit to and actually finish, but either the time on it has drastically passed to whether they don't want to do it anymore, or what's it called, or me and her just haven't argued to try to make it completely airtight. So there's like quite a few stipulations to a lot of stuff that we haven't done. But yeah, that's all.
All right, and if you out there are someone or know someone in the Anitube in the oops, that's the wrong one, in the Anitube space that would like to be on this show. Wait, what?
Can I make a recommendation?
Sure.
Try to get let's see, Celestial Nerd. Try to get her on next time.
I think I have my friend Zenith on next time. I don't have anybody for December.
All right. Yeah. Try to get what's it called? That would be a hilarious thing to see. If the person who was on can tag someone next.
Oh my god, I should try to do that. Normal people don't have that, but yeah. In general, I'm always looking for people to be on the show to highlight more small Anitubers in the community to help shout each other out and do all that jazz. So if you want to look me up on Discord and or Twitter with the hashtag Community Corner and tell me who you think. But anyway, this has been me and Lamp, if he's still there.
Yes, I am still here. I lurk in the shadows drinking coffee from my crystalline skull.
And Unknown, and we'll see you guys next month on Community Corner Podcast. Say bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.